with AirView. Do more with multi-window. Whenever and wherever you need. Samsung Galaxy Note 2. Incredibly creative.
This is TV18. And you're watching CNBC TV18.
What's Hot? Brought to you by Canon. Magma, investing in the smallest dream. Aura, impossible to hide. Servo 40 synth from Indian Oil. It's your license to fly. And Mahindra Quanto. Live the weekend life.
Arvind Kejriwal takes on Mukesh Ambani, and Reliance Industries alleges that both the Congress and the former BJP governments have been granting the company undue favours. Adds Reliance is keeping gas production artificially low to blackmail the government. Reliance hits back, refuting all claims.
There is scope for further easing in the fourth quarter, not necessarily a rate cut. I'm not ruling out a rate cut.
RBI Governor dims hopes of rate cut even in January 2013, says RBI has promised to ease, not cut. That's an exclusive. The Shom panel submits its final report on retrospective amendment to a finance ministry. Sources indicate the GAR proposal may in fact be delayed by just 1 year, not the 3 years as was recommended by Parthasarathi Shom. Hello and welcome to What's Hot. I'm Nayantara Rai. And I'm Shireen Bhanwal. It is all about Arvind Kejriwal and his allegations this evening, but we are tracking other headlines as well. Let's quickly wrap up everything else that's making news tonight. One more panel to whet TRAI's fresh views on spectrum refarming is set up. The DOT, the DIPP and the Economic Affairs Secretary attend the crucial meeting of the Telecom Commission on refarming. Chennai and parts of Tamil Nadu grind to a halt as Cyclone Neelam makes landfall near Chennai, but in northeastern US, life limps back to normal in the wake of Superstorm Sandy. NYSE opens its doors. The street drags its feet and indices remain stuck in a tight range. The Nifty manages to hold on to 5,600. The Sensex gains 74. Well, this is the big story at this hour. After training guns on politicians, activist turned politician Arvind Kejriwal in India against corruption has made scathing allegations against Mukesh Ambani-led Reliance Industries today. Questioning the removal of Jaipal Reddy from the oil ministry, Kejriwal and senior advocate Prashant Bhushan accused Reliance Industries of blackmailing the government by reducing gas production. They also pulled up or actually levelled allegations against the Prime Minister for not questioning Reliance for the fall in gas production. It's not just the Congress party. Kejriwal said even the BJP is in, and I quote, Mukesh Ambani's pockets.
अगर $14.25 प्रति यूनिट के हिसाब से गैस ली जाती है इनसे, तो गैस से जो बिजली बनाई जाती है वो आज मोटे मोटे तौर पे 3 रुपए यूनिट के हिसाब से बनती है, वो 7 रुपए यूनिट हो जाएगी। देश के अंदर जो खाद बनती है किसानों के लिए, उसके दाम 2 से 3 गुना बढ़ जाएंगे। इसलिए जयपाल रेड्डी जी ने कहा कि हम आपकी बात नहीं मान सकते, हम आपको $14.25 नहीं दे सकते। जयपाल रेड्डी जी ने एक नोट बनाया, उस नोट की कॉपी अभी हम आपको देंगे। उस नोट में उन्होंने लिखा कि अगर इनको $14.25 दे दिए तो देश को 45,000 करोड़ रुपए का नुकसान होगा और रिलायंस को 45,000 करोड़ रुपए का 2 साल में फायदा होगा। तो जयपाल रेड्डी जी ने कहा कि इनको ये नहीं दिया जाना चाहिए और उसकी सजा जयपाल रेड्डी जी को भुगतनी पड़ी। आप वोट चाहे बीजेपी को दे दो, चाहे कांग्रेस को दे दो, देश तो रिलायंस वाले ही चलाते हैं, देश तो मुकेश अंबानी चलाते हैं। तो ऐसा लगता है कि इस देश को बड़े बड़े बिजनेस हाउस चला रहे हैं। 2 ही चीजें हो सकती हैं, या तो डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह किसी न किसी दबाव में, कहीं ना कहीं दबाव है बहुत गहरा उनके ऊपर, और या उनको कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा, उनको पता ही नहीं चल रहा कि हो क्या रहा है। अब वो इतने बड़े अर्थशास्त्री हैं, ऐसा तो नहीं हो सकता कि उनको समझ नहीं आ रहा हो कि हो क्या रहा है। समझ तो आ रहा है सब कुछ, लेकिन ऐसा लगता है कि कांग्रेस ने फंसा दिया उनको बुरी तरह से। आज हमारी ये मांग है कि रिलायंस की ब्लैकमेलिंग को, जमाखोरी को, दादागिरी को अब ये देश बर्दाश्त नहीं करेगा।
That's Arvind Kejriwal with his allegations against Reliance Industries and the KG-D6 project. Reliance Industries, meanwhile, has responded to the IAC's allegations, calling them devoid of any truth or substance. RIL says irresponsible allegations have been made by IAC at the behest of vested interests. On the issue of the KG-D6, RIL says Kejriwal's allegations do not have the basic understanding of the complexities of a project of this nature. RIL adds the KG-D6 project has added great economic value to the country and by all accounts is a project of which India can be justly proud.
So what do we make of Arvind Kejriwal's allegations? We're now joined by Sunil Jain, opinion editor of the Financial Express, and of course we will go across to Nentara, who's been tracking this story very, very closely. Sunil Jain, let me come to you first. You know, none of what Arvind Kejriwal has said today is new information. This has been out in the public domain through the seg1 report and so on and so forth for the past several months. Is Arvind Kejriwal's attempt today an overtly simplistic exercise of conveniently representing facts that are already in the public domain?
Well, I think he's very smart. Shireen, this is exactly what you and I would do if you're spinning a story like this. Get a bit of fact, get a bit of fiction and mix the two up and figure out that nobody will ever figure, guess the difference. If you look at...
But Sunil, is it more fact than fiction or is it more fiction than fact?
Well, I think it's an equal combination of both. The government has certainly been derelict in a lot of areas, but I think we have to give the government credit for the fact that long before Kejriwal began talking about this, the government of India issued a notice to RIL saying that we are withholding $1.2 billion of capex from you. This is a case where, in fact, RIL has taken the government into the arbitration court. So I think the government has been proactive from that point of view. I think where the government has not been proactive is a variety of things. If you look at, for example, the first seg1 report. The first seg1 report looked at, Reliance's capex in the years 07 and 08, which is actually the years when the smallest amount of capex took place. So it looked at that capex and it said, we can't figure this out. So here are 10 deals that we're a bit worried about. So they told the oil ministry, why don't you examine these deals in great detail? Now guess what? The great hero being made out today, Jaipal Reddy, was the oil minister for all this time. He didn't examine these deals. So I think the government has been derelict there. It certainly needed to examine the deals. I think when the government makes the charge, when people make the charge, and Jaipal Reddy also said that he didn't believe that RIL had genuine production problems. And he said that so the view seems to be, or the impression being created is that RIL is intentionally depressing prices. This is what Kejriwal said.
That's right, and that is the allegation that Arvind Kejriwal is making as well, Sunil Jain, saying that RIL has artificially depressed the gas production.
Absolutely. So the point I'm making is that when RIL drills anything in KG-D6, the details of the reservoir, everything is available with the Director General of Hydrocarbons. So if Mr. Jaipal Reddy or the Director General of Hydrocarbons actually felt that RIL is just trying to blackmail them and lowering production, they could have taken those reservoir details to a lot of globally well-known reservoir experts, DeGolyer, McNaughton, there are lots of them, and just said, will you please look at this reservoir and tell us, is this a case of actually depressing production deliberately or is it genuine? Now Mr. Jaipal Reddy never did that. So that's why I said fact and fiction. The government has certainly not done quite a few things which are important, but it isn't as bad as Mr. Kejriwal is making it out to be.
You're right there, Sunil. I'm going to get down to the specifics and some of the other allegations that Kejriwal has leveled. But Nentara, you've been tracking this story for a while now on this issue of RIL having artificially depressed gas production. RIL's arguments have been that for the last 3 years, our approvals, our field development plans, our capex approvals have been pending. What is the RIL side of the story? Because there is one.
That's right. Like Sunil was pointing out, RIL has repeatedly told the oil ministry, appoint an independent director if you don't believe there are geological complexities. At the same time, convinced that there are, they said, we have a capex approval of $8.8 billion. Merely drilling more wells is not going to do anything. We don't even want to spend more money at the D1, D3 blocks. We're going to make up the production shortfall from the R series and the satellite fields, and these are the plans that have been pending for nearly 3 years.
All right, Sunil Jain, one of the other issues that Kejriwal has talked about is the gold plating issue, which has been much documented in the seg1 report and so on and so forth. RIL's argument has always been, hey, we don't benefit if we were to actually inflate our capex. Kejriwal reiterating the seg1 line here. What do you make of that?
Well, you know, I mean, if you look at RIL, the company, clearly RIL, the company, cannot benefit if it inflates the capex the way, you know, the charge has been made. But that's irrelevant. The charge is really is that if inflation of capex is being done, it's being done in the name of some other subsidiaries. So the RIL argument is correct that they don't benefit from the gold plating if there was gold plating. But it's irrelevant because if the gold plating was done, that money would have gone to a subsidiary company. But you know, here is the problem. That as a Minister of Petroleum, Jayapal Reddy or anybody in the government, for example, in fact even Parliament is to blame because the CAG report goes to the Parliamentary Accounts Committee. So the PAC knew, you know, and I don't know who the head of the oil PAC is, but the PAC knew that here is a report where the CAG is saying, I'm uncomfortable with certain kind of bidding that has been done. I don't know if this is the industry practice or not. So why don't you people examine it? So A, the government of India never moved on that. Secondly, the PAC never moved on that. Now I don't know if Mr. Kejriwal is saying that everybody is involved in a cover-up. The other point that we obviously need to look at the specifics. Just one sec. Just one minute, please. You know, we obviously need to look at the specifics of every deal. But one point that we must keep in mind that when Arvind Kejriwal or Prashant Bhushan say that the cost went up 3 times, or firstly the cost went up 3 times, but then the production also doubled. But when you talk about the cost increasing the way they did, we have to keep in mind that costs of everybody, including ONGC, have gone up dramatically. So let's not just assume axiomatically that if the cost went up, therefore there's a garbage. We need to examine the specifics, but let's not jump to conclusions.
You preempted my question, Sunil, because that's exactly that I was, what I was going to point out is that this business of differentiating between fact and fiction, and if you just go by the press release that's been put out by India Against Corruption, I mean, sweeping statements like the contracts that were given out to Acre saying that is this group related to Reliance, is Reliance siphoning off money through this method? I mean, Nantara, you know, we know Acre is part owned by the Norwegian government. You know, again, I'm saying conveniently ignoring some of the crucial facts that ought to have been here as well on the issue of giving away blocks to Reliance Industries. NELP, perhaps, Sunil Jain, would you not agree, is one of the most transparent bidding processes in this country?
Absolutely. That's the point I began by saying, that, you know, he just assumes that because Ranjan Bhattacharya was pally with Mukesh Ambani and Mukesh Ambani won the bid during the BJP tenure, you know, therefore there's a link. Now, as we know, as you've been saying, that there was an international bid. These are documents which are available on the ministry's website. So I'm surprised that somebody of the obvious caliber of Mr. Prashant Bhushan and Kejriwal didn't go and see this.
So Nantara, you know, you've been in touch with the company. What seems to be the road ahead as far as this situation is concerned?
Well, I think today would have made it very difficult for Jayapal Reddy's successor, which is of course Veerappa Moily, to go ahead and give approvals. We have been seeing a paralysis in
even if they're legitimate, even if they're reasonable.
Even if they're reasonable, legitimate. For example, you know, they've been holding back development and budget approval, saying you have to agree to the CAG audit. Just last week we saw slight impasse being broken with them, saying, the government saying, fine, we're okay with the financial audit, we won't do a performance audit. Some other issues had to be resolved, but will those issues be resolved anytime soon? Reliance has also been saying, we've taken a view now, the BP board has taken a view, we will increase production from the R series and the satellite fields will begin production once you give us clarity on pricing. That's after April 1st, 2014, but will Veerappa Moily have the guts to actually say, this is the clarity, this is the price going forward?
Sunil Jain, you know, this is just going to make Veerappa Moily's job a lot harder, isn't it?
Well, it is, you know, but I think you know, Shireen, what we need to keep in mind is that the assumption is made by a lot of people, including from what I understand from Mr. Jayapal Reddy's note, that, you know, Reliance is not happy with the $4.2 it's getting, so it's asked for a $16, you know, it's asked for this to be increased to $16, which is where, you know, he's getting all those numbers from. I think it's very clear. Two things are very clear. One, no price can be given to Reliance or anybody else unless you have international bidding, and there's going to be rules for that bidding. So I think if anybody thinks that, you know, I or you or Nantara or anybody else can just give, you know, Reliance what it wants, that's not true.
No, and that's been made absolutely clear by the Prime Minister's office as well, you know, that there will need to be a competitive bidding process if indeed you were to revise prices come 2014.
You know, that's point number one. I think point number two we need to be very careful about is the fact that based on today's pricing, every $1 increase in Reliance's gas prices is going to lead to a 50 to 55 paisa hike in power prices and about 3,000 to 3,500 crore rupees in the fertilizer subsidy. So you can bet there'll be lots and lots of ministers in the government who will be looking at it very, very closely to say, why are we paying this? Because let's not forget that while we can allege that one minister is in Reliance's pocket, I don't think anybody is making the point that every minister and the Parliamentary Accounts Committee to which the CAG report will go is in their pocket.
Except for Arvind Kejriwal. But Sunil Jain, we've completely run out of time. Appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18 with your thoughts on the latest saga. But let's very quickly hear at former Oil Minister Jayapal Reddy on what he had to say on Arvind Kejriwal's expose this afternoon.
जबकि गैस प्राइसेस में $2 और 34 सेंट पर रुका हुआ था तब मेरे सामने तो किसी ने ये मांगा नहीं कि उसको हम बढ़ाएं। तो मुझको नहीं लगता है कि हमारे दो नामों को जोड़ने से हम इस मामले में कहीं आगे पहुंच सकते हैं।
I have not heard Kejriwal. I don't have the documents. Therefore, I cannot make any comment.
Jayapal Reddy refusing to comment on the allegations made by Arvind Kejriwal. The RBI governor, meanwhile, appears to have hardened his position on a rate cut even further. In an exclusive interview to CNBC TV 18 today, he said the RBI's policy yesterday has only promised to ease further in January. It hasn't promised to cut rates. This clarification may well push up bond yields tomorrow. Here are the highlights of that exclusive conversation.
We said there is scope for further easing in the fourth quarter, not necessarily a rate cut. I'm not ruling out a rate cut, but I just wanted to say for the record that it's further easing in the fourth quarter. On growth particularly, our projection for the full year is 5.8%. The first quarter print read at 5.5%, so the expectation is that it will ratchet up. Okay. Should it go down very badly in the second quarter, in a very unlikely event, we will of course respond to that. But I just want to say that that's highly improbable. About building reserves, I don't think we will want to intervene in the market just to build reserves as self-insurance. I just have to revert to my earlier answer, which is that we would intervene in the market to manage the exchange rate, and if reserves get built up or reserves get used up, as a consequence, that's a byproduct of a decision that is triggered by another objective.
Well, that's the governor. Up next, CNBC TV 18 exclusive Parthasarthi Shom coming up when we return. Says prospectivity is the best way forward on the day that he submits the final report on retrospective amendments to the finance minister.